People came downtown and they walked from store to store, department store, this store, that store, and so that really it was the storefront and the entrance apron that called you into a store. You're walking past it, and we see these big glass windows here, and whatever's in those showcase windows catches your attention. And do you see how the entrance apron looks like a funnel? And so that you're kind of looking at the storefront window and seeing what the displays are. Ooh, $1.99. One step away, you're in the door. That's the whole point of the design. So that we can say this building is kind of like 1950s modernism, but we still have just a hint of streamlined modernity from before the war in these curved plate glass windows. And now, so it's the same idea as we saw on that barber shop. And this is something that came out of the 1930s when the look of modernity was a curved corner. Look at all the cars from the 1930s. They have curved corners, curved fenders. Look at the locomotives. They have curves on them. Look at the early planes. They have curves to them. And it's because this was the efficiency of movement, that curved corner in the late 1930s. And so we started adding it to other things that aren't necessarily going to move, like toasters. Like the toasters, the toaster still looks like that. A stainless steel box with curved corners, as if it's going to zip right off the counter. That's the efficiency of modernism at that time period. And even in the 1950s, it's translated and preserved still in this entrance apron. Of course, the materials are different because now we have plate glass. So that before we did it in glass block and assembled them like bricks, but now we have plate glass, and we can affect this a lot more easily. Now, the floor of the entrance apron is equally as important and is usually way more colorful when it was first designed. So now there's a handful of pristine entrance aprons that exist in Indiana. This isn't one of them. This was the result of two things. And two things that came about in probably around the 1970s: litigation and indoor-outdoor carpeting. The old storefront aprons, they were always sort of as a slant. You're being funneled into the store in all three dimensions. It's funneling down, it's funneling on the sides, and there's usually a colorful entrance apron done in the favorite material of the mid-20th century was terrazzo. And terrazzo could be done in a lot of different colors. Before that, it was mosaic. And a lot of tiny mosaic pieces that predated World War II. By the time we get to the 1970s, though, the businesses are moving out to the shopping centers. And there's this concern about litigation and people slipping and falling on your property. And those surfaces, those modern surfaces, were a lot more slick, especially in bad weather and rain. And so the stores moved out. It wasn't as important anymore. They invented indoor-outdoor carpeting, and then they covered over the original terrazzo or mosaic. I always think that somewhere beneath that indoor-outdoor, that it may still survive. And so every time I see it, I'm thinking, like, I wonder what's under that thing. Maybe it's under there, maybe it isn't. We'll see one where it's still out there where we can see it.